Welcome.
Welcome
to the Revolutionary Baddies podcast. Thank you for being here.
We are excited. We are on episode 5.
Episode 5.
I got 5 on it. 5. Okay.
Firstly, I just want to say thank you to all of our listeners and supporters, the folks that have been sending encouraging words and really dynamic, thought-provoking questions. We really appreciate that. We're reading all of it.
Absolutely.
And so just really feeling really grateful to be building community in this way.
Yeah, if you've listened to us yap in the previous episodes and you're still here for it, you down with the real niggas. You down with the realists. I mean,
and that's just it.
Honestly, best way to put it. But yeah, you're here with Dee Dee and Brittany, so let's get into it.
Yes.
We're getting straight to it because we got a lot to talk about. Because episode 5, we're focusing on the ladies. We're focusing on feminism,
which is not just for ladies.
No, it's not. That's the problem. But that people think it is.
Yeah, it is the problem, and it's who we're going to make sure that we are highlighting, because those are just the shoulders that we stand on.
Hello, broad shoulders.
How we got here.
So yeah, but let's get into the hot topic, girl. Me and Dee Dee have been talking about it already.
Yeah. So one thing I really wanted to bring up recently, so obviously we're pre-recording this episode, but it is right after the news, segment about the first all women venture into space that's funded by Jeff Bezos' company.
Slinging ladies into space.
And they were up there for apparently 6 minutes or 8 minutes total.
As someone say, they just went round the corner, up the street. They went up the street.
And I mean, it's not surprising because they've already been doing, the billionaires especially have already been doing and talking about space tourism.
Right.
How much more imperialism how much further can we take it? But I mean,
it gets crazy because I feel like if you believe in God, your creator put you on a whole planet. If I'm not God. Obviously, if I was, I would thump somebody right back to Earth, and that's what has happened. What are you doing out there in space?
What? Why are you there? But specifically, and some of the people that are highlighted, these are people that are literally not astronauts. So let me just say, not even scientists.
That's why they asked us up there for 6 minutes, because after minute 10, you got to figure shit out.
Yeah, at the very least, you got to figure.
You got to know
something.
You got to know something.
You got to know which button to push at some point.
They just went to the top cloud.
But specifically because today we're going to be talking about Black feminism and its many contradictions, especially as it's highlighted in the mainstream and how it's been co-opted by neoliberalism. Specifically, Gayle King, who is Oprah's bestie, and she's a journalist, broadcast journalist, Black woman. She was interviewed about her experience on as part of this venture to be, the first all woman, And everybody's, posted the memes of her looking scared, concerned, worried, tired, as if she just there because she don't really know why she there. But then afterwards, she gave this terrible interview that was just tone deaf as hell. She's like, oh yeah, I've seen all this criticisms from people I love, and like, y'all are saying all this, but like, have you been? Is one of the things that she literally says.
That was her clapback?
Her clapback was, but have you been?
Well, no, clearly.
No, Auntie Gail, we have not been to space.
Why have you?
How do you propose we get there? Like, what do you mean? Have you, like, she really made it like, oh wow, y'all really hating outside of the club. Like, that's what it was.
She looked down and said, all them broke bitches got a lot to say.
What your broke ass?
What's your broke ass? Except for Oprah.
Right.
I'll be back, babe.
BRB. And like, she's talking about how, like, you know, they're trying to figure out, Jeff Bezos and his staff is trying to figure out more solutions about what to do with all of the trash and waste. She said waste that we have on this planet. Wait. And that they're trying to figure out ways to put trash into space, to put waste into space.
What?
Yes.
So when I go to look at the eclipse, it's going to be a Burger King bag floating across the telescope.
And that what they were doing was to better Earth. It wasn't to make it worse. It wasn't, you know, harmful. And, you know, you can always do both things at the same time. I mean, it was just out of touch.
Yeah. I don't listen to Gail anyway about anything, honestly.
I would never listen to her about anything, but I was just so disappointed and just, I couldn't believe, have you been? She really was like, you know, I hear people talking about it but have you been? Like, it was like that tone.
Someone told her that was the clapback.
As if that's what you're supposed to say.
But you know what? The way it's celebrated is that, wow, look, women went into space. Right. Look at the achievements. I look at a lot of the ways that feminism has been co-opted. It's like black excellence. Yeah. Like, look. Yeah. These niggas is shining.
Yeah. I mean, black power has been co-opted as black excellence.
Look. Y'all in space.
Look at her. Moving on up.
Did she not hear 1%? Whitey is on the moon? Has she never heard it? Somebody needs to play Whitey on the moon for her.
It was just so out of touch. Just like, you could have not said anything, actually. It would have been better.
And you're up there with Jeff Bezos' girlfriend.
Why is Katy Perry there? Excuse me?
Why are you in a capsule with a bitch from the inauguration? Get your black ass.
She's lost.
You know what? But when
she's gone.
When that's our mothers leave us, no one can ground us sometimes.
But
you need a black grandma to say, "You going where?"
But she's in the grandma category.
She is a grandmother, I believe.
There you go.
Damn. She need her grandma. Kanye need his mama back. Gail need her grandma.
No, I was like, this can't be it. No. This cannot be it. Like, please know that Gayle King is part of the ops. 100%. She's pushing that there should be private companies that's owning space tourism. I mean, because that's what it's going to be.
And did people not see the whole Titanic expedition, the little capsule that went down there? Now, the ocean is a little bit scarier than space sometimes because of the pressure.
Yeah.
That pressure.
It's different.
But once again, you ain't supposed to be either place. What? I'm not traveling the ocean and I'm not traveling space.
Right.
But I don't know. I'm actually kind of down for the concept of a mass group of people. I'm not going to name them or specify.
Yeah.
Getting on something and leaving Earth.
Okay.
I'm potentially open to a Mars colony where certain people leave and never come back and maybe meet, I don't know, an alien oppressor.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm in the fantasy
Dark thoughts. Dark fantasy.
I'm going down a rabbit hole.
Twisted dark fantasy.
I'm spiraling. Okay.
But I didn't want to, start the conversation there, but I wanted to really bring it up as the shameful direction that feminism has gone because it's been co-opted.
Yeah.
By neoliberalism, and that we have to be better as a generation to identify when actually, like, that's not no shit to be proud of.
No, I'm not gonna do it. And you look at somebody like Gail, and she is this 70-plus-year-old black woman, and there's room to be proud, right? Like, she's a major contributor on a morning show, so it shows once again how you can look at Black people, Black women in certain positions and say like, wow, she's breaking barriers. And to get in that position on what, CBS or something, and then to not use it as a real platform, but to just get down with what your executive producers are like. How do you feel for ratings about going to space during a time like right now where it's just tone deaf? Like, we have a lot of things going on. People going into space, spending all that money. Yeah. And so it's just a waste of seeing this successful Black woman in front of the camera and girl.
And I mean, and be the proof that like identity not being a representation of your consciousness is really not. Yeah. We have to go beyond it. And not only that, to be so tone deaf to say something like, but have you been, when literal Black female astronauts and scientists are being removed from the websites for their work, from major websites for the work that they have actually done towards.
And they got to watch your ass go
and
up
they got to watch your ass go up there for 6 minutes only to come back and say, but have you been?
Well, no, I haven't, bitch.
And what do you mean?
Yeah.
It just is so disappointing. I know it's not a representation of a generation, but it is a representation of mainstream feminism.
Yeah.
It's a clear representation. How tone deaf it is, how basic, surface level it is, and how it becomes about being the first, the only, the whatever, which are titles. When they mean something, they should mean something. Yeah. But this doesn't mean anything except to our oppressors.
Right.
So came in flaming hot Cheetos because she just blew me with that one. But yeah.
Well, to cool it down, if you know what, this is honestly an episode where we're gonna be bad because as Black women, first of all, put some motherfucking respect on us. Put some respect on us globally. Black women have been holding. I would argue we've been the most decent group of humans on earth. I'm biased.
Yeah.
Do I have empirical evidence? No.
Yeah.
Do I believe it? Yes. Wholeheartedly.
Yeah.
And you know, in talking about liberation and struggles for Black liberation and just revolutionary action, women in general, globally, Black, white, every color, we have been left out of the conversations about movement. Although we have been not just the backbone, like as sometimes we're painted, and I guess that's supposed to be a nod towards what we've done or contributed, but like literally the leading force of movements, but maybe not the figurehead or written out of history or barely written about. So it's important that we really understand that there can be no successful movement for Black liberation without women. And there can be nothing without women, period. Literally life.
Yeah. And I think, I mean, especially in this country, the history is so patriarchal, like in general, like that's just the water that we swimming in, the air that we breathe. So it's going to also show up in activist work, political work, movement work, etc. And there's consequences that other demographics just don't face. Now, I do want to clarify, this is aside from Gail, the conversation about her. This is to clarify and also clarify the need and the real need that we have for Black feminism to be more studied, to be developed even more, and really challenged in a way that so much co-optation it isn't so potent and powerful as it is now. But that requires a black feminist movement, or at least a radical feminist movement.
So where is it at? Where are the movements?
I don't think it's in this country. I think it's outside. I think definitely in Latin American countries. I think in the Caribbean countries that are on the continent, but it ain't really here.
Yeah,
in the U.S. Feminism is more focused on mainstream, and it's focused on quote unquote women's rights, which are often diluted to just reproductive justice, which is also some kind of way diluted to just being about women's bodies.
Right.
Or it's and in some of the most radical spaces, it's about violence, because that needs to be obviously addressed and transformed. But it's about everything, really. And I think that some kind of way, because of neoliberalism and co-optation, that black feminism in its grounding is about building power. It is about building the power to build better lives for the future that we deserve. And because of the social, political, and economic relationship that black women in this country often have to the rest of the country, we're the ones that hold a lot of the best solutions. But the support, the mentorship, the resources are not there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like it's missing in America in comparison to maybe other parts of the diaspora, or in Latin America and Asia and Europe. It's because we have two major ops. We live in a majority white country. And not that it's just a white country, it is uniquely an American whites. They're different, very unique group. And then we have our own men. So we've kind of always been in this struggle with black liberation in this country. And like you say, because we are in a very patriarchal country, it's been pretty much, let's, as a black community, defeat racism. And that's been the priority. Not realizing that black women, we do suffer under racism, and we suffer under sexism significantly too, by our own men. But to have those conversations, oh my God, you try to have a conversation about what it is to say, hey, fellow black men, I love you, but we are uniquely affected by American racism. It's like, oh, you want to be a single mama. Lord, look at her. You want to keep breaking the homes. And it's like, nah, like I kind of, like, can we have this conversation about, we have to have movements to say her name. Yeah. And why is that? Yeah. Like, why do we have to because we definitely rally when black boys and men are shot and killed by the police and these other acts of violence. And for women, it's like, all right, not too much. Yeah. And it's like we have to kind of, in a way, swallow what we're going through to be a united front. But in ways, we're not united in our community. Yeah. And coming and saying anything about it, trying to form any type of, I won't even say just an organization, but just trying to have dialogue around, like, what do we face as black women disproportionately in this country? It's like, yeah, all right, you want to be one of them, huh? You want to tear us apart. You want to tear us down. You want to tear the brother down. And it's this whole false narrative of like, we're emasculating our men and all these things. And it's like, damn, can we talk? Can it don't have to be about, a blame game, but just like we have a unique experience under our men and under white supremacy. Yeah. Yeah. And I think, even getting there is part of the struggle, right? Because
in some ways, there's also, Black women that also contribute to the continuation of misogyny and patriarchy 100%. And
all up in the church,
homophobia and transphobia, and I mean, there's so much of that influence everywhere.
Yeah,
and so I don't want to make it as if it's just men versus women, or even like women versus others, or any of those types of setup, because that's also not what Black feminism is about.
No, it's about it's patriarchy. But that's the thing, when you try to talk to Black men about patriarchy, they take it as an inherent attack on them as men.
Right.
And you're talking about this system, you're talking about this mentality and this structure that oppresses. And you try to bring it up, and it just becomes, once again, okay, so you want to tear the Black man down. And it's like, I actually want to free y'all, because feminism, Black feminism, it doesn't just free Black women. To me, it frees everyone. It's about an inclusive ideal of deconstructing these ideals of misogyny and patriarchy and things of that sort. And that's what's so discouraging about when we try to talk about it. It's like, all right, so you hate the men. And it's like, damn. No, I love the men, and I want something better for them than how they're being crushed under patriarchy as well, trying to get them to see.
Yeah.
Like, this is a system that affects both of us, but how it gets flipped is unfortunate.
Yeah. I mean, it's a tactic. Like, it's a defense mechanism to really avoid self-reflection.
Yeah.
And there's moments where I kind of share stories about like different things that happen that where I can just see the misogyny right in front of me. I can see I mean, just off rip, I can just see it. And when I share these stories with my like male friends, my male platonic friends, they're like, they don't believe me.
Yeah,
they don't believe. And I'm like, have you met niggas? It's because it's a lack of seeing yourself, actually, and that's why you don't believe me,
right?
Or you don't believe us. You don't believe survivors of sexual assault, sexual violence, physical assault, domestic violence. Like, you don't believe it because you actually don't see yourself.
Yeah.
And you don't want to see yourself. And I think that has always been what Black feminism has really tried to challenge, is that we all have to see ourselves in the system and fighting it at the same time. And it isn't one happening against the other. And it also isn't one being done first and then we can just keep going down the checklist. Like, that is some liberal shit to believe about how people change or how societies change. That it requires a entire reset of hearts and minds, of behaviors, and of systems to really get at the root of it. Brittany, I'm curious, are there any like Black feminists that are in your life or that you've read about that you kind of hold close to you? Like, what are some of those examples?
You know how so many people don't identify as something necessarily, but you see it. I always say I was very, very, very fortunate to be raised by women like my mother and my aunt and just the women in my family. There's not a timid woman with the last name Rodman. I can guarantee you. If it is, she's not a part of my group. Like, the Rodman women were, maybe not self-proclaimed feminists, but they taught me, and I would say my cousins early on, about pride in being a woman. They didn't inflict shame on me just naturally existing as a young girl and a woman. I grew up seeing women who didn't listen to men. That's vital. It really is. It sets the tone. I ain't listening to that nigga. That nigga is her husband. She loves him dearly and would ride and die for him. But sometimes you just can't. You can't be led astray. You know what I'm saying? Or controlled. And so I would say, and then, my mother, she identifies more as a womanist than a feminist, which she gets from Alice Walker. And I love Alice Walker's quote that basically womanism to feminism is like lavender to purple. It's just a more specific type of feminism that is pretty much black feminism for women of color and more inclusive of the full spectrum of womanhood. So my mother was someone, I would say she self-identified as that. And, hearing her, she would introduce me to certain literature and ideals, but I've just always been attracted in the sense to strong women that were very vocal. And it means a lot as a little girl because maybe you don't have the language that they're defying patriarchy or that they are promoting a certain ideology, but just seeing women who live as themselves, they work hard and have a certain sense of like autonomy. It made me feel like I would have a certain sense of autonomy over my own life. So shout out to my aunts, Aunt Vonda, Aunt Myra, my mother, okay, and all of the other women in my family. And then of course, once I actually went to learn and study for myself, I would say the first autobiography that I read by a woman would be Ashada Shakur's. I think it's a lot of people's intro. And so I was like, yeah, this is my type of lady. You know?
Right.
But I will say that still to this day, as much as I've read and I've studied, there's not enough voices from women that I've seriously had in my studies, whether it was in my formal studies or in my informal studies. And once again, like when we talked about capitalism, kind of the absence of studying something is profound because it's like, where is it at?
Yeah.
Where's the conversation about it?
Yeah.
And for so long, I was under the same belief, I think like a lot of black women here in America and elsewhere, racism is the thing I have to defeat. Racism.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, I suffer more being black than being a woman. I'm sure I actually said that exact statement in my youth.
Yeah.
And that was probably because I was just a young girl. I didn't get out here long enough to really suffer as a woman. And so it's like, oh, life is like, give it a minute.
Right.
Give it a minute.
Just wait on it.
You will get treated like a low down dirty bitch. And so I kind of was under that, probably that self-sacrificial mindset as well, that we have to just focus on uplifting the black man and the black race under this white supremacist structure, and not really talking and thinking about what do I need as a woman, and what does it mean, like where are we in a deficit and what are the challenges we face. So I'm still kind of in that journey of learning about black feminism and radicals and people who I should admire, because for so long I was, like I told you, I was in the school of Malcolm X early.
Right.
So shout out to Betty. I was a fan of Betty via Malcolm, but not really knowing Betty's story and looking at all of the thousands of Bettys and millions of them throughout the world who have really been the backbone of these great men that we celebrate in history.
Yeah.
So for you, who are your goats? Who are your black feminist goats?
I have a few that I really, really love. One of my faves is the Ella Baker, Miss Baker. Yes. She's from Littleton, North Carolina, is where she was born. There's actually a Ella Baker like festival that Littleton, North Carolina puts on every year. It's like an hour and some change away from Durham. And she was just a dedicated organizer, like really believed in the power of organizing and building with working class people. She worked tirelessly. One of the things I love about her is that the FBI, she had an FBI file on her, and she actually had a husband, but they thought that was like her roommate or something. Like they didn't realize that was her husband because it wasn't the forefront of who she was.
Right. My man.
And it was, she wasn't in the background of his story or his work or whatever. He was more in the background of hers. And I just, especially at that time of, the 1940s, 50s, for her to have that kind of energy, I just really found to be really inspiring. Because generally, when I was learning about the women that were part of the movement, they were the wives. They Betty Shabazz, right. Coretta Scott, And so that was one of the things. And then she organized across the South. But even when she was older, maybe in her 40s or 50s, she also supported the building of Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, which became one of the most powerful movement organizations and during the Civil Rights era, and so many amazing movements and organizations have been birthed out of that. And so I just always kind of look back at Ella Baker. There is a book, a biography on her called Ella Baker and the Black Radical Freedom Movement. Yeah. Ella Baker and the Black Radical Freedom Movement. It is a necessary read. It's a beautiful book written by Barbara Ransby. She's who I think about and love to learn more about. I'm like lucky that I get to be in conversation with some of the SNCC veterans that did get to be in conversation with her.
Wow.
And they'll talk about, what one of the things Miss Baker always taught them. But one of the main things that she told them was that, the sit-in movement, like she was, very congratulatory of how much, the conversation around Jim Crow was really shifting because of the risks that young people were taking across the country. But she told them from jump, like, this is about more than a hamburger. How do you make it about more than a hamburger? And that was what really pushed them to be thinking about really building power across the working class.
She had the bigger picture.
She knew that she saw the vision, and she trusted a lot of the young people to help continue on that vision, which they did.
And that's one thing when I look back at how women are left out of conversations about the movement. It had to be women behind it because we have the best ideals. We would be the one to say, like, okay, this is about more than that burger, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, what's next? I think women have an amazing gift, not all, but have an amazing gift of like foresight and really seeing things, 5, 10, 20 steps ahead. That's kind of what we have to do just to be nurturers and caregivers. You have to always be thinking about the future and the bigger picture,
right? And
logistics,
right?
Women handle logistics.
Yeah, I mean, almost in every industry. Also, every industry,
right? So it's impossible if you think that. The people who made sure that it was water and some fans at the March on Washington, trust me, the men showed up. They would have had us no water.
Yeah,
in the desert.
Yeah, and she didn't stop at doing voter registration work and doing work with young people. She also supported the construction of co-ops. There was an organization, I think it was called like the Federal Young People's Co-op or something like cooperative, something like that. But it was kind of really meant to push against capitalism, really, and do some serious world building that was meant to kind of be a practice that was beyond, just, and this was during the time that, many of the Black Wall Streets were constructed. Maybe some of them didn't exist quite yet, or they did exist, but she was looking forward to really building beyond capitalism within the organizations. She also was what we would consider to be a fundraiser, resource mobilizer type of person. So her, along with Bayard Rustin in those years, helped to organize funds towards the movement. And I think that also speaks to like just the volume of work and movement that you can do under a really radical feminist Black politic.
Yeah. Shout out to Ella Baker.
That's my girl.
And all of the other women who don't have that same notoriety.
Mm-hmm.
But, in all of it, let's get to the propaganda.
Okay.
Ladies, we have to stand up.
Yes.
We got to stand up. Look, yes. You said, yeah, it was a Dee Dee yes, but what? What's the caveat?
I just want to, okay. So I just, because I don't want to make Black feminism just about women, because it's not.
No.
And I do know where you're trying to go, but I think emphasizing that if we are going to make this conversation about Black feminism and propaganda for the people, that it is also emphasized that it is for all genders to be welcomed into.
Right.
Yeah.
But we got to lead it.
Yeah.
And so that means the ladies got to stand up. We got to stand up before anybody will follow us. It's not just for the ladies, but it's about us.
Mm-hmm.
Like Black liberation.
Mm-hmm.
Black people stand up. Everybody else get in line too.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You're supposed to be for Black liberation too.
Yeah.
Black liberation is not just for Black people. It's for people who feel like or understand that there are injustices and systems against Black people that they are intricately tied to. Like, more white Americans need to understand the suffering of Black people is your suffering. Mm-hmm. Y'all are suffering too. You just see it differently.
Mm-hmm.
And so I kind of use that analogy to speak to like Black feminism. Like, it's for everybody, because everybody should be uplifting women who are, I would say, the largest globally oppressed group of people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, fellas, you should be a feminist. Party got it tattooed to get across his tummy. Partisan. You know what I'm talking. Megan Thee Stallion. Okay. He said he a feminist.
Okay.
That's what he said.
Okay.
That's what live by it.
Yeah.
So the men got to get behind it. Everyone has to get behind it. But women, if we're going to lead, because it's about coming out of our need to come out of systemic oppression and subjugation, we got to stand up.
Mm-hmm. Working class women.
The main group, the majority.
Yeah.
and once again,
right.
We have to understand that the majority of women in this world make up the working class.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We're not all kept.
Yeah.
We're not all boss babes.
Right.
And we have to stand up for ourselves to get other people behind us. So that's what I mean by, like, I want the ladies to stand up. But everyone should be a feminist, because the principles are about equality.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it's about it is about too, like, a continuous struggle, because there are elements, or there are, again, because of anti-blackness, because of misogyny, because of patriarchy and capitalism, that there are mainstream feminisms that erase and don't count people that don't necessarily identify with the binary as well. There are factions of white feminism that erase and don't count trans women as part of the fight. And that is also not what we're talking about. The foundational principles and the lineage of Black feminism is really about, again, the future generations and how do we do the work within ourselves that help to set up the future generations. And also, how do we really challenge the instances of patriarchy and misogyny that shows up in the different movement spaces that we know? There's plenty of examples. I mean, one is the Combahee River Collective, which was a collective of Black feminists, Black lesbian and queer feminists. I don't think all of them were queer or lesbian, but majority of them were. And they came out of the National Black Feminist Organization because it wasn't a space that was welcoming to really working class power building, and it wasn't welcoming to queer women. And so there's always been, again, this kind of lineage of pushing what is mainstream and what is counted as feminism, because we have to hold it so closely, because there's ways that the stories of women that have died because of their feminist values are untold, but we know it happens. And so it's something that just needs to be talked about, shared about, discussed more. And I think that sometimes, because of the way that mainstream feminism puts it, is just about being the first, biggest, highest paid, blah, 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 in some particular company or industry or university or institution. And that is not what feminism is about.
No.
At all.
But that's why the ladies, when I say ladies stand up, once again, it ain't all of them. The working class women. And I think that in order to really organize or build, we have to first identify that we have a problem. And so many of us, probably once like I was, we're just still caught up on one layer. So we're not looking at class. We're not looking at working class. We're looking at, once again, how so we got the 92%. Is that the t-shirt and the phrase going on since the election? Black women, 92% voted against Trump. So there's like t-shirts and.
I haven't seen this.
Oh yeah, I'm a part of the 92.
Interesting.
And right, I get it. Like, Black women are saying, once again, we continue to do what we felt was best for the quote unquote democracy in this country. And we are the most loyal voting bloc in the Democratic Party.
Yeah.
92%. And Black men follow closely behind. I think in the most recent election, national election, they were about like 86, 87. And then it gets kind of 50-50, 60-40, 70-30 with other groups.
Yeah.
So it's this idea of like, we're holding it down, but we also, when it's time for us to say, these are unique needs and wants, Black women don't feel empowered to really look at their own party that we sustain and say, these are the things that we want and we need as working class women, as caregivers. We really, our voices, like I said, they call on us to be the 92% during elections, the liberals. And then after that, there's really not a lot of lip service paid towards us. And so, ladies, we have to stand up and decide, like, what do we want? What do we need?
Yeah.
We see it in our individual lives, like what we need, what type of support we need as whether we're working mothers, working caregivers, certain educational pursuits. And like I say, and we have to all stand up for like we can only speak to typically our own experience, so we have to keep uplifting those voices. Like, I can't speak for a trans woman. I don't know what their needs are, you know, uniquely, or maybe overall just basic human rights that they should have. But like, we have to come together and really get out of that shadow of like, we'll wait our turn for the issues, and then looking at the other group like, okay, y'all wait y'all turn. LGBTQ, y'all wait y'all turn. You know, we're trying to just make sure we keep abortion rights, or you know, these type of things. Like, we have to look at each other as a collective and stand up.
I mean, history is always the place, because there are a lot of like really phenomenal Black women organizers and feminists that have really laid the groundwork for where we are now. Lots of Black women that were communists and socialists, and these are names that you won't know about, you won't hear about, because of the, you know, the patriarchy of our society. But in the same ways that somebody say that you can always tell something of a society by how they treat its women?
Malcolm X, when he toured Africa and I think the Middle East, he was saying like the success of a country and where it was going was indicative of how much energy they put into educating women. And I was reading this book called Why Women Have Better Sex Under Socialism. Shout out to the author of that book. It essentially talked about some of the social economic factors of like Eastern Europe before, during, and after the Soviet Union, and the impacts. I mean, it wasn't just about sex. It was definitely like kind of highlighting the make and shape of families and how like families were seen in those years, what the quote unquote role was for the woman and the man, and how having socialism helped to not fully, you know, rewrite everything, but it definitely created a different type of landscape for working class women to be in, moving towards more equity, and how that immediately kind of changed the structure of how the family also socialized with each other. And so I just there's so many different social factors that go into it. An example is like, you know, what is taught in school around sex education for, you know, a capitalist society compared to a socialist one, and that actually having some like adequate, comprehensive sex education under the socialist society, it actually kind of reworked the societal norms around gender roles, because women or girls or whatever didn't have to subjugate themselves to violence or to being half cared about in order to have some sort of stability by getting married. That they didn't have that in a socialist society as much, because women could go out and get a job for themselves just as a man could. And so the neoliberalism and the co-optation of feminism is actually extracting and minimizing our ability to dream of a different way of being with each other. That's what it does. You think that it's just supposed to be this one way. And obviously I know you about to get good,
because I'm about to say it and you about to go there.
I've been waiting.
The influence of Christianity, and how that also plays a role in the narrowing of societal roles, of gender roles.
Yeah. And we're in the South.
Yeah.
And so much, the South suffers continuously. And it's because we are a Christian conservative block of this country.
The Bible Belt.
We are in the Bible Belt.
Mm-hmm.
And when I talk about women standing up, in order for us to dream and develop these ideals about radical Black feminism that really will capture and benefit all genders,
mm-hmm.
people who identify across all types of spectrums,
mm-hmm.
we have to get from up under these niggas. We do. We got to get from up under these niggas, literally, physically. And when I say that, first of all, when I say niggas, I'm being non-racial specific men. So excuse me. We got to get from up under these men.
Uh-huh.
And by that, we have to get out of these roles that have been assigned to us
mm-hmm.
via, because it's really not even Christianity. Christ didn't say nothing about a woman staying home and cooking and cleaning. But Lord, go to church.
They didn't even have kitchens back then. Like,
hello. But go to church. You think Christ said it himself.
Right.
And I remember when Kamala lost the election, everybody was like, wow, America, this is how y'all feel about Black women?
Mm-hmm.
That's what we doing? Like overqualified, and we're not giving her the position, or she didn't win. And in a conversation with my mom, I was like, now how Black people mad that America wouldn't do for Kamala that the Black church won't do for the women who try to be in clergy?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Let's
mm-hmm.
talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, you're not going to put this very talented, qualified Black woman into this position? Y'all don't do it at the church.
Mm-hmm.
You have women who can out-preach, out-teach, and show more pastoral care
mm-hmm.
than these new pastors with their damn joggers on the stage. Or the ones in the old cloaks, all of them. For the joggers to the cloaks, scammers.
Uh-huh.
They could have more pastoral care and lead the church and not be sleeping with the members. And y'all still got her baking cakes, heading the dance ministry, the praise dance ministry. You know what I'm saying? Putting them ahead in smaller positions.
Yeah.
And so the church, not just the Black church, is in the way.
Mm-hmm.
Because once again, if you are reading, say for instance, you're a young woman and you're learning about Black radical feminism and you're, and all these different things, and you're trying to imagine what this looks like in your material life,
mm-hmm.
then you go to church, and once again, bringing it back to what I was saying earlier, you try to dream these things, and it's like, oh, you got to hear a sermon saying you don't want to defy God. You have to go through your man. That's what they say in these churches. That your husband is supposed to have this solid relationship with Christ. And through your relationship with your husband, you will build your relationship with Christ, because he is the leader, God appointed leader of the home. What is that to say to women, to say to young girls? And so we have to stand up against that type of patriarchal preaching, and it's upheld the most, I think, in religious organizations. It's not just Christianity. And so women, we won't be free if we're still trying to be a good God-fearing woman. With theologian Dee Dee, help me out. I think it's Proverbs 31. I haven't been in church in a while, but Proverbs 31, I think, describes like a pretty ideal woman.
Uh-huh.
And we still got women trying to be that. And first of all, I haven't read the verse in a while, so let me not say too much. But at the same time, I know, and it's nothing wrong with, essentially what that scripture is saying, but women are still striving to be a good God-fearing woman in hopes of getting that man. Yeah. And that's going to set us back, and that's going to once again keep us forever feeling like we have to be self-sacrificial and a step behind the man. We're supporting pastor, and we're supporting these efforts, and we're going to be distracted from any type of real movement building.
Yeah.
So we got to stand up.
We got to stand up. And we have examples, like we're not saying anything new, number one. And we don't have to start anything from scratch. There's just something that I want to read from the Third World Women's Alliance, which was an organization that was birthed out of SNCC, the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee. It was a group of Black women that were part of that organization that, really wanted to work on the patriarchy that was existing outside of the organization, but also wanted to build more with women outside of just Black women. And so that's why they called it Third World Women's Alliance, and really emphasize on the exploitation that was happening at the intersections of race, gender, and class. One of the things, and so they have this this statement that they wrote that has their goals and objectives. And one of the things, and this was in the 70s, this is the early 70s, so we're talking about 50 something years ago. This group of young women came together and wrote this, but really wanted to put forth a vision of society that is beyond where we are. And they also really emphasized, had a whole piece that they was like, is a third world women's group divisive to the liberation struggle, which is what we were talking about in terms of, people feeling like, oh, well, we can deal with patriarchy once we deal with this kind of thing. And so they actually wrote about that. And one of the pieces that they really emphasized was on family. So just a little piece of it is, whereas in a capitalist culture, the institution of the family has been used as an economic and psychological tool, not serving the needs of people, we declare that we will not relate to the private ownership of any person by another. We encourage and support the continued growth of communal households and the idea of the extended family. We encourage alternative forms to the patriarchal family and call for the sharing of all work, including housework and childcare, by men and women. This was in the 70s, that they were writing about what they saw as the possibility of, or the foundations of a family structure that was beyond the capitalist culture. There's many examples where this exists. There's a whole community, or like a small town in Colombia outside of Medellin, where it's just all women that live there. There's no men allowed to live in that particular village. They can visit, they can pop up, they can come to the cookout, but they can't stay. They can't live there.
Sounds like my house.
They can't. Sound like my house.
Hello. So much peace. Wow. My neighbors never hear arguing.
And so there's just so many examples that exist across the world. I think what we need here is, at the very least, millennials and Gen Zers, we need a full rejection of the mainstream neoliberalist agenda around feminism. The fucking all women space group, representation is not enough. We don't have, I would argue, we don't have any feminists that are representatives, Congress, women, none of that.
Yeah. And before we can build, I'm all about deconstruction. I think I should get it tatted across my collarbone. Deconstruction. I want to deconstruct so many things. But before we can build, we have to tear down all of these things that keep us locked into this ideal that these type of movements or organizing don't suit us. Yeah. We don't need it.
Yeah.
And we are going to have to deal with patriarchy.
Yeah.
And because, like I say, women uphold it, men uphold it.
Mm-hmm.
Men uphold feminism, women uphold feminism. It's really about a mentality and an understanding of inclusive equality, justice for all, and patriarchy is the op. It's the other op. And if we don't, you know what I'm saying, if we just focus on dealing with white supremacy and we leave patriarchy on the table,
we gonna be dead.
Choked out.
No, we gonna be died. We gonna be died.
Choked out.
It's a wrap.
Right. So women will still be under the boot.
Yeah. One of these days, I'm gonna talk about how the next U.S. revolution cannot be led by men.
Absolutely not.
At all.
Not whatsoever. Even in the top 3 leadership positions.
No.
We'll get into that. We'll get into next, like what we dream for and what we're hoping to see in revolution. You know, we kind of have gone over some of the concepts and the issues that we face.
Yeah.
But we got to get into like what's next.
Yeah. What's next? And I'm still learning. Like I'm pretty versed on some Black feminism, but I am still very much learning.
You have to seek it because it's not going to be there.
You literally have to seek it out.
Got to get in the archives. What is it? Archival?
Archivist.
Dee Dee says archivist. I say archivist. We got to get in the archives.
I mean, we got a lot of work to do. So, would love to hear from y'all. Like, who are some Black feminist icons that are really inspiring to you? Why? Please tell the people. Drop it in the comments. Just share who those people are. We want to learn more about the lineage that we come from, because we ain't gonna learn it in these schools. They already got rid of all the books in Florida. And they're cutting all of the programs that you would be able to learn about these things from.
See, do you all identify as a Black feminist? And this is not just a question for women.
Yeah, men
more than anybody. I really enjoyed Thomas Sankar's speech that he gave on International Women's Day, I think in 1987. I love when a man talks about the importance of it. Like, women, we get it because it's like I love when men talk about it. So men, get in the comments, declare yourselves openly as a feminist, and give an example of how you living into it,
and how. I mean, it's also really sad that would actually be a really brave thing to do. Like, the bar.
Yeah,
it's in hell.
It is.
It's in hell.
And speaking of hell, no disrespect to my women, my Proverbs 31 women. I love y'all. Y'all are a cornerstone of the community. I love y'all, but get rid of that man as your spiritual leader. We'll talk more about that later.
Yeah. We always going to talk about it more, but I love talking about Black feminism. I love talking about the lineage that I come from, not just in my family of Black, like really intelligent, not going to shut up kind of women, but also of the organizing, the Black feminists and organizing as a principle of that work. I just love talking about it. So anybody that wants to talk more about Black feminists or the Black feminist movement that doesn't exist in the United States, let me know. Hit me up.
Let us know. Episode 5. You put your trust in the nigga, stupid hoe. How you figure? Oh boy, we're done. Thank y'all for another sit down with us.
Thank you.
We love y'all. Get into the comments. Let us know how y'all feel, and like I say, declare yourselves openly.
Thank you.
All right.
Talk to you soon. Bye bye.